Okay, here's our video on scientific. Okay, our learning target is students will be able to write numbers using scientific notation. So let me get after it. Okay, scientific notation is when you have c times 10 to the nth power. So anytime you have a number, c represents a number, times 10 to a power, where c is between 1, it can be equal to 1, and 10, but cannot be equal to 10. Okay, so that first c has to be one digit, and then you can have a decimal point, but you can only have one digit in front of the decimal point. And n is an integer. Okay? So for example, if I have standard form 725,000, you can see it at 7.25, which is between 1 and 10, times 10 to the 5th power. If I have a small decimal, 0.006, I can rewrite that as 6 times 10 to the negative 3rd power, where again 6 is between 1 and 10. Okay, so today we're going to practice switching between standard form and scientific notation. Okay, I'm going to go on to our first example. Alright, first we're going to write in scientific notation. So again, I want my decimal point after the first non-zero number, so that means I want it after the 1, so between the 1 and 2. Remember, currently my decimal point is right there. That's where it is now. Okay, and I want it where between the 1 and the 2 in the end. So all I'm going to do is count how many places it takes to get there. And that's going to be my powers of 10, because when you multiply by 10, powers of 10, you're moving the decimal point. So I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that took 8 movements to get there. Okay, so that means I want to multiply by 10 to the 8th power. So to write this in scientific notation, I'll do 1.2 times 10 to the 8th power. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Okay, for B, I want my decimal point again between the 1 and the 2. So this time I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Since I went to the right and my number is very small to begin with, and when I write my next part, 1.2 times 10, okay, since I want a small number, I want my exponent to be negative, because a negative exponent is going to put my power of 10 in the denominator, which is going to be dividing by that number, which is going to make it smaller. So again, that was 1, 2, 3, 4 to get after the 1. So that's going to be 1.2 times 10 to the negative 4th power. So if you see a negative power, that's not going to make a negative answer. It's going to make a very small answer, one that's less than 1. If you see a positive exponent with the 10, that is going to make your answer. Scientific notation is really good to express extremely large or extremely small numbers. Okay, we'll move on to my next example. Let's say we see something in scientific notation and we want to write it into standard form, how we normally would write it. Okay, so I'm going to do my 3.2 times 10 to the 7th. So 7th, which means I'm going to move my decimal point 7 to the right. So when I do that, that's going to be 1, 2, sorry about that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the right. And when I move it to the right there, I fill these in with zeros, and that's where my decimal point is now. So that's going to be 3, 2, and then I have 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put my commas in, and there's my answer. Okay, for B, it's a very small number, so I'm going to take my number, and I'm going to move my decimal point to the left. 5. Okay, negative means I'm going to make a small number, so I'm going to move my decimal point to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fill in my zeros, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 8, 6, 9. Okay, you can put the 0 in front of the decimal point or not, doesn't matter, but there is my final answer. Okay, we go on to my last example. Alright, in my last example, we're going to be multiplying in scientific notation. So basically, we're going to be multiplying in two parts. First, when I multiply, I'm going to multiply the 3 times the 5 to get 15. Second, I'm going to multiply the 10 times the negative 2 times 10 times the 4. Now, we just went over how to find our answer, so that's going to give me 10 to the negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2. So it's going to be 10 to the negative 2. So it's going to be 15 times 10 to the 2nd power. However, I cannot have 15 as my first number because that is more than 10. So I have to move my decimal point over 1, so it's going to become 1.5 times 10, and since I had to move that over 1, I got to add 1 to my 2 and make it a 3. So So I'm going to get 1.5 times 10 to the third power. So you multiply the numbers, you multiply the times 10 parts, remember that's by adding the exponents together, and then you have to reconfigure the number. Okay, sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, so just check that. Okay, and that is my final answer. If you have any questions, watch it again. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys later.